ask you now to please stand for the school song.
Welcome, distinguished guests and friends of Masada College. I'm Jav Red.
And I am Talia Miller.
We are Masada School captains and your MCs for the service this evening. We welcome you all to the memorial service for our esteemed principal of Masada College, the late Mrs. Wendy Burrell. And we extend a special welcome to everyone present with us this evening. From the attendance this evening, we know how important Mrs. Burrell was to each and every person in this room. And there are ever so many who have sent their apologies and heartfelt thoughts at this sad and difficult time. I now call upon Rabbi Lewin, campus rabbi, to give the Devar Torah.
Good afternoon. Yesterday's Torah reading opened up with the words, Vayu Chaye Sarah. These were the years of the life of Sarah. Me'ah Shana, V'esrim Shana, V'sheva Shanim. They were 100 years, they were 20 years, and they were 7 years. When Abraham receives the shocking news that Sarah has passed, he's gripped with great sadness. And when he rushes to Hebron, to where Sarah had passed, he finds a huge community gathered to mourn the passing of the great matriarch and first mother of the Jewish people. He arrives, and the Torah describes that he came laspidota v'livkota, to eulogize her and to cry for her. In the Torah text, whenever there's a letter which is either elongated or slightly smaller, the rabbis immediately start asking questions. Why was it that God in His Holy Torah insists that these letters should be greater or smaller? In the word livkota, and he cried for her, there's this very small kaf. And the rabbis explain the anomaly by saying that Abraham did not cry as much as people would have expected of him. The reason suggested is that Sarah, our mother, left such a legacy and impact on her family and the community that although she was no longer there and the pain was felt, she had left in place a framework that was strong, and that even in her absence, everything could continue as normal. Sarah was 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. The great Jewish commentator Rashi explains, why does the Torah add the words years between 100 years, 20 years and 7 years? Surely it would have just said 127. To which Rashi answers that at 100 she had the strength of a 20-year-old, And at 20, and at 20, she was as free of sin as she was at 7. One of my esteemed teachers, Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, used this idea of the 100 years, the 20 years, and the 7 years to teach us something about age. Many of us think when it comes to age, that when we reach a certain stage, that's it. When we go from being a kid to being a teenager, we somehow lose a bit of that curiosity, the why. When we finish school and we go into university, there's an element of, now I have to be mature, I have to be an adult. As we come to our senior years, we might think that I'm old. Not true with Sarah. At the age of 100, she acted as if she's still 20, full of vibrancy and vigor. And at 100, she still maintains that curious innocence of the 7-year-old. When I think of Wendy, Mrs. Burrell, I really think of her in terms of Sarah. For all who saw her until the shocking news of last year, 1 year ago in November, knew her as one who lived through all these different ages. Her smile and her zest to learn new ideas, her love for her family, and that extended to our Masada family here at the college. The joy and pride that she took in all the students of the college was legendary. It was not surprising to see when Mrs. Burrell getting up on Pink Stumps Day and having a go at batting. She was a visionary who would instill within the college the programs of Leader in Me, the 7 habits for continued excellence for staff and students. She was that true Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor, the role model, the inspiration. And for each of us, she was the matriarch. There is a midrash, a rabbinic seer teaching, that mentions the tent of Sarah. And it says there within that tent there were 3 characteristics which made it unique from all other tents. When Sarah would light the Shabbat candles, the midrash says, these candles would miraculously remain lit for an entire week. When she baked the challah, it too always remained fresh. And above the tent, there was a cloud of glory. And the rabbis asked, what was this idea? Lighting candles is the light of knowledge and spirituality in a home. Challah, the basic foodstuff, symbolize the basic physical needs that were taken care with a freshness. And the cloud symbolized protection. For Mrs. Burrell, Masada College, for those who are here, we sensed that this was her tent. She radiated light when she entered the campus on a daily basis. And that light enlightened all of us, both student and staff. The challah was always fresh. There was always a fresh idea, a new program to ensure that the students were always prepared to engage the future. And the cloud of protection and care of Wendy was legendary within the college. We will never have another Wendy Burrell, but she has given us a vision of greatness, a standard to uphold and to try to emulate. We are enriched by having had her as our principal, and generations of Masada students will be forever indebted to her. Seldom do we meet people in our lives that can influence so many in such a humble way. Blessed is Masada College for having had Wendy. Her presence and legacy will live on in all that we do here. Next Sunday, we'll see the fulfillment of a dream of Wendy. is Masada Israel trip, the MIT, for both Jewish and non-Jewish students to Israel in year 10. This was her legacy, the care and pride of every student. We will remember her in all that we do, and everything we do will be an honor to her memory. May her dear soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Wherever the name is Wendy Burrell is mentioned, it will always be mentioned with blessing.
Thank you, Rabbi Lewin.
The Honourable Mr. Jonathan O'Day, Member for Davidson, Parliament of New South Wales, on the 20th of June 2018, tabled at the Legislative Assembly. These words are now part of Hansard. Hansard is the report of proceedings of the Australian Parliament and its committees. This includes the Senate, House of Representatives, the Federation Chamber, and all parliamentary committees. Masada College, within my electorate, has been farewelling a valuable and crucial long-serving leader of their school, former Principal Wendy Burrell. Last week, I attended a junior school assembly with students, parents and staff at Masada College's campus to farewell Wendy and recognise her tremendous contribution and inspirational leadership over the years. Students from years K to 6 performed a loving and creative display of appreciation for Wendy's contribution, and the senior school is holding a similar occasion this week. Wendy served as school principal for 12 years, from 2006 to 2017. She was previously head of curriculum, preschool to year 12, deputy principal, preschool to year 12, and head of senior school. Many of her students have graduated to make a meaningful impact in the broader Jewish and Australian community. I thank Wendy for her total 17 years service to Masada College and her legacy to our broader community. I wish Wendy Burrell and her family all the best as she faces a challenging medical condition. The college would like to take this opportunity this evening to formally thank Mr. O'Day for his very kind act in sharing his thoughts for our selfless, humble leader, Mrs. Wendy Burrell. I will now ask Mr. Martin Tate, Acting College Principal, to come to the podium.
Thanks, Jared. I think the incredible attendance here tonight is really testament to how people felt about Mrs. Wendy Burrell. Besides, of course, the Burrell family, we also have many people today from the Masada and broader community, including current and ex-board members, many distinguished people from within the Ku-ring-gai area, alumni, along with past and present students and parents of the college. Today we celebrate and pay tribute to Mrs. Wendy Burrell. They say nobody's perfect, but John Eales wasn't far off. His Australian teammates were so convinced of this that they gave him the nickname, Nobody. Eales had pretty much every skill the modern day rugby player requires and was a born winner. I'm sure many people in the audience are saying, why is he talking about John? John who and why? Well, Eales was a sporting legend in Australia. As a rugby legend, he was mobile, had fantastic handling ability and work rate, and even kicked goals, hence his enormous 173 international points. He was also an outstanding leader, able to delegate, and was tactically aware. His leadership also coincided with a great era of Australian rugby. Remember when Australia once beat the All Blacks? When thinking about Mrs. Burrell, I think she personifies perfection and so much more. Many comparisons can be drawn. As mentioned already, her 17 years of tireless work, dedication and commitment as an educator, as our esteemed leader as college principal of Masada, and her influence in Jewish education will not be surpassed. And this is not mentioning her many successful years at Yeshiva Girls, along with the many leadership positions she held in different educational bodies. Besides being an exceptional servant leader at Masada, her energies were instrumental, as already mentioned, in a plethora of areas, including the Year 10 IST and now Masada Israel trip, due to her positive influence and support, mainly in helping families who struggled financially as well, to ensure that their children could be on this trip. I'm pleased to say that the MIT was solely her initiative, and our students head off on this program for the first time this weekend. Her progressive, visionary leadership was also evident with programs mentioned, such as Harvard University's A Cultures of Thinking and Stephen Covey's The Leader in Me, which has helped shape students and staff across the college. As a kind, selfless, humble, empathic, loving and loyal person, whether it be to her family, her friends, her colleagues, her students, or to anyone who had the privilege of knowing Mrs. Burrow, she was always the perfect role model. If something was to be done, it would be completed. She was an action person. We were truly blessed to have known her. Personally, I miss our conversations and her wise counsel, how she helped support me overcome countless situations and mentor myself on both school and life matters, right up until she passed away. Always cool and calm in her demeanour. I miss her car next to mine as I leave of an afternoon. She was always first to arrive and last to leave. Most impressive when you're making the jaunt from the eastern suburbs. I miss her wicked sense of humour. During the odd, challenging day, it was much needed. And how she miraculously managed to turn any hardship into a positive outcome. I miss her late emails of an evening. The banter was always fun. I miss her regular phone calls. I miss her generosity and her caring manners. Always asking questions of others, especially when it comes to your family. Her genuine interest in others was one of her many gifts. Please know, and I think I can speak on behalf of everyone present tonight, we think of you all the time. You're always in our thoughts. As you look down from heaven, enjoy the many beautiful tributes tonight, as there's going to be many, as we celebrate your life. Your spirit and legacy will live with us forever. And remember, nobody.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
We ask Mr. Darrell Dauphin, representing past and present members of the Masada College Board Management, to share his reflections.
Isaac, Janice, Michelle, Michael, and David, the Masada family and friends. It's an honour for me to say a few words on behalf of the Masada College family, on behalf of the College Board of Management, the school executive, staff, and students. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Darrell Dauphin, and I was the treasurer of Masada College and sat on the board executive for a number of years and worked closely with Wendy during that time. Every Friday night, we sing Ashet's Chayil, which means woman of worth, valor, or strength, which is a phrase from Proverbs, a song of praise. Who can find her? The author asks rhetorically. She rises while it's still night to bring food for her household. Her lamp never goes out. Her mouth is full of wisdom, and teachings of loving kindness are on her tongue, and much, much more. This, to me, epitomizes everything that was Wendy. A strong Jewish woman and mother, committed to her family and community. Wendy was the rock of Masada for so many years. She helped build a remarkable school, which is unique in so many ways. She ensured our Jewish community would have the next generation of leaders, willing to contribute to both the Jewish and wider Australian community. Wendy touched so many people with the devoted and selfless way in which she approached her role. Being the principal at Masada was not a job for Wendy. It was part of the essence of who she was. There are very few people that have given so much to the institutions of which they form a part. She knew about every child, every family, and would make everyone welcome at the school. She did everything she possibly could to ensure that any child wanting a Jewish education could attend the college. Jewish centrality was an integral part of the school, which Wendy wanted to preserve and develop. Wendy played a pivotal role in the development of the highly successful Torah stream, which is a wonderful example of the inclusive ethos she wanted to foster. David Booth and I had the privilege of meeting with Wendy almost every Friday morning for many years as part of the board executive. In all those years, Wendy never complained. She always showed amazing resolve and commitment, and importantly, always had the best interests of the children and staff in mind. Wendy was strong, but compassionate and caring. What was remarkable about Wendy was, and what made her unique, was that our meetings never ever centered on Wendy. They were always about other people, their issues, how best to support a child or accommodate a teacher, where to take the school next, or how to enhance a program. Being such a humble person, Wendy never ever brought attention to focus on herself. Wendy's commitment and focus on differentiating the college has established Masada as a leader in the educational sphere, where she commanded the utmost respect, including for her pioneering work as regards the culture of thinking and lead-led programs. We could go and pull all the statistics and see how many kids have graduated and gone on to successful careers under Wendy's leadership of the college. In fact, we need not look further than the 2017 Year 12 student cohort, where the results were excellent, with 3 students included in the HSC All-Rounders list. But that would not tell the full story, because Wendy not only ensured that each child has left the college having achieved their full academic potential, they have also left with a sense of belonging, a strong value system, and an understanding of their place in the world. There were so many things that Wendy did in the background, of which very few people were aware. A small example of the extraordinary effort that our college principal went to over many years is the Israel study trip. Wendy took it upon herself to ensure that no Jewish child missed out on the experience, and would raise funds to make the trip a reality for those who could not otherwise participate. This commitment continued even once Wendy had become ill, and many children will be participating in this year's program because of Wendy's efforts. Now that Wendy is no longer with us, people are beginning to come forward and tell us about the ways in which Wendy had helped them and the care she had shown. One of my own family members, who worked at the school for many years, recounted the story of how when tragedy struck the family, Wendy spent time with her over a cup of coffee, making it clear that her job at the school was waiting for her once she was able to return. Or when the college could not afford something, how a special unnamed donor, who wanted to remain forever anonymous, contributed so that the school would be a better place for our kids. And then there were Wendy's plans following her retirement, which tells the story of the amazing person she was. Most would not know that following her retirement, she had intended to help with college raise money so that more kids could attend the Jewish Day School. She also wanted to assist us to further the college's Think Centre, which helps generate additional revenue for the school by helping other schools. I have no doubt that in the months and years to come, we will hear many other stories of Wendy's vision, her kindness, her compassion and caring. No words can adequately express our gratitude for the enormous contribution Wendy made to our community and the way in which she touched so many lives, but especially the lives of the children. On behalf of the Board of Management, the College Executive, the teachers, students and parents, past and present, I thank Isaac, Janice, Michelle, Michael and David for sharing Wendy with us. We were privileged to know her. We were inspired by her. We will continue to be inspired by her. And we're incredibly proud to have been able to call her our college principal.
Thank you, Mr. Dorfman. We now ask Mr. Yair Miller, Chief Executive Officer, United Israel Appeal, New South Wales and Vice President, Kehilat Masada, and Mr. Bruce Goldsmith, Chief Executive Officer, Jewish Communal Appeal, to the left hand.
Good evening. It's our honour to have been asked to say a few Tehillim on behalf of the various communal organisations with which Wendy worked so collaboratively and supportively for so many years. Wendy always sought to ensure that the students of the college understood their place in the broader community, both Jewish and wider, and we remember her for that particularly this evening. I shall raise my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help is from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to falter. Your guardian will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your guardian. The Lord is your shadow by your right hand. By day the sun will not smite you, nor will the moon at night. The Lord will guard you from all evil. He will guard your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from now into eternity.
שיר למעלות. אשא עיני אל ההרים מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני עושה שמיים וארץ. אל ייתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומריך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. אדוני שומריך, אדוני צילך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יכך וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אחסר. ונודש ירביצני על מנה מנוחת ינהלי. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צר מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני, שולחן נגד צוררי נשענתה, בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני, כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Following us, we will hear a beautiful version of the Eshet Chayil, the performed by students of the college. The song describes the archetypal Jewish woman, a woman of valor. This is certainly fitting, as we have heard this evening, as we remember Wendy, who was a matriarch for the Masada College community and the Jewish community of the North Shore.
It opens with the following telling words. A woman of valor who can find, for her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, and he hath no lack of gain. She doeth him good, and not evil all the days of her life.
And how fitting the concluding verses. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laugheth at the time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She looked well to the ways of her household, and eat not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done valiantly, but thou excel them all. Grace is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman who feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates.
We thank you, Mr. Miller and Mr. Goldsmith, in sharing this memorial service with us. Masada College is a place which we all here today hold in such high regard.
Our first musical item of this evening is a performance by members of the Masada College Years 3 to 6 Vocal Ensemble. Conducted by Mrs. Shelley Bond, they are performing Eset Hayim, a woman of valor, from a Shabbat service. Every word of this prayer describes Mrs. Burrell's attributes. A lover of music, Mrs. Burrell particularly loved the sound of the accordion.
We ask Mrs. Sherry Cully, long-serving member of staff for 34 years, to show her tribute to Mr. Burrell.
I'm very grateful for this opportunity to express my respect and appreciation for this remarkable lady. There are so many virtues to extol, many of which we've already talked about, and I'm sure there's a great deal many more to come. However, I'd like to reflect on the impact that Wendy has had on my life over the years. When Wendy first joined Masada as head of curriculum, her office was a compact little shoebox, tucked away in a demountable building. She was squished between the hustle and bustle of a staff room on one side of her and the pandemonium of the photocopy room on the other. Despite being on the main thoroughfare between these two and needing a shoehorn to fit her in behind a desk, Wendy was unfazed, uncomplaining. She settled straight in with her modesty and unwavering commitment to her task, and she set about making Masada College the very best it could be. Wendy's competence and sheer tenacity were admirable qualities. I will long be seeking to emulate them. I can't imagine I will ever be sending emails at midnight, but certainly Wendy's single-mindedness and determination to make a difference are attributes to be aspired to. Wendy was an elegant, classy lady. She was always impeccably groomed and immaculately dressed. She was calmness and poise personified. Anyone who knew Wendy could not help but respect her self-possession. But there was another Wendy, and sometimes that one slipped out when you weren't expecting it. One afternoon I was sitting in her office and she was proofreading a letter that I was planning to send home to the parents that was addressing behaviour expectations of the students who were going to be attending the ski camp. Sitting behind her desk, she was browsing through the pages when she suddenly burst into a fit of giggles. Her whole face lit up when she laughed. She explained to me through her snickers that it was my misspelling of the heading for my letter, Breaches of Discipline. I had put into an image of a pair of trousers into her head that I was somehow going to wield as a weapon to whip miscreants when they misbehaved on my trip. I am grateful that over the many years I have been witness to the wonderful heart that drove Wendy. She was compassionate and extremely concerned with the welfare of both her staff and her students alike. Wendy knew every student and was able to greet them all by name. It meant a lot to me that she would regularly ask me about the progress of my own family, even in the years long after they had all left Masada. It is this thoughtfulness that made her unique. But even more than this, while she was dealing with dire health issues of her own, she continued selflessly to express sympathy and to reach out with offers of support for the health of my husband, and was concerned with how my family were coping. Losing Wendy has left a strange emptiness which I struggle to make sense of. I think I'm probably still in denial, finding it all too surreal. While modest and unassuming, Wendy was a solid rock in a turmoil of continual change. She was our navigator. She was an exemplary role model, and I only pray that I can channel just a modicum of her competence and her compassion and be worthy of just a smidgen of the respect that she so justly deserved. My prayers, my thoughts and my condolences go out to Wendy's family. I wish them long life and enduring memories of a beautiful daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother and grandmother taken from this world way too early. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cully, for sharing with us all this evening your personal tribute. I now ask Year 11 student leaders Peter Nee and Talia Miller to share a few words.
When one thinks of Masada College, Mrs. Burrell immediately comes to mind. She and Masada are synonymous, and her values and ideas have been imbued throughout our school. Mrs. Burrell was dedicated. She was devoted to Masada, to the community within it, as well as to her staff and students. Her strength and optimism were evident in her generous nature and her ability to always be able to laugh, even during the challenging times. She was approachable and knew every student and staff member. When you passed her, she would always say hello and ask how you were. Constantly looking for new ways to improve the college, Mrs. Burrell always had a new initiative or proposal to make Masada a more comfortable and engaging learning environment. There was nothing she would not try to provide, and she ensured that Masada was a rock and a fortress to every one of us. Mrs. Burrell inspired and influenced many students over the years, and she was a deep believer in the power of leadership. She believed each student was a leader, and was passionate, in particular, about the 7 habits. It is because of her that many of us are familiar with the annual leadership training days, which encourages students to grow into strong, capable, and confident young leaders, just as she was when she led Masada. Mrs. Burrell's legacy will live on in Masada, a focus that the prefects are currently working on to incorporate her values into our new school slogan. But slogan or not, Mrs. Burrell will always be remembered as a beloved and crucial member of the Masada community, and we will all miss her.
Mrs. Burrell was an extraordinary principal and leader. She dedicated so much of her time into bringing an international student into the school, into the Masada family. School can be quite a foreign and disconnecting place for international students. Mrs. Burrell would go out of her way to arrange dinner parties for international students and their parents. It gives us a chance to immerse in the culture of the school and gives us a sense of belonging. This is so important as we are some students attending foreign school in foreign country, distance miles away from our own homes. Mr. Burrell welcomed us in her office with both her arms and doors open. Mrs. Burrell will listen carefully to every word that we have to say. Mrs. Burrell will adopt changes that will make the school a more inclusive place. Mrs. Burrell was a forward thinker. Mrs. Burrell was a change maker. It was because of her that our experience in Masada can be such a positive one. We thank her, and we also look forward to seeing her legacy continue. As I, standing here right in front of you, representing all the international students in the school, are part of her legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter and Talia. As students of Masada College, we understand about your positive experiences at our school, and it emulates Mrs. Burrell's qualities and her sense of purpose.
We ask Mrs. Lisa Cohen to the podium. Mrs. Cohen is a staff member and alumni of 2002.
Good evening. I asked a friend how I'm not going to cry, and she said to me, "You will, so just get over it." From our very first interaction until just last week, Wendy has been teaching me. If you had asked me if I knew Wendy Burrell when I was a student, I would have told you, of course I do. And then I would have gone on to share a story about soon after, when she had come to the school when I was in year 11, I was asked to represent the school at an Israel advocacy rally in the city. There was an Masada in Israel, and I was asked to go on a Sunday in my school uniform. And you do what you're asked, so I went and passionately represented the school. And the very first thing on Monday morning, Wendy called me into her office to thank me for representing the school in my uniform on a Sunday. And I walked out so impressed and so overwhelmed. I did what I was asked, but she took the time to call me in individually and to say thank you. As a student, that made a big impression on me, how she cared for each and every single individual in her care. But when I became a teacher, I realized that I didn't really know Wendy Burrell when I was a student. And what I learned was that Wendy cared for and mentored each and every staff member as if they were her own students. The first time I got a glimpse of this, I was a brand new teacher, very wet behind the ears, and the school's evaluation process involved teachers visiting each other's classrooms and critiquing their lessons. So, being brand new to this trade, I assumed that Wendy would pair me with another teacher who was also brand new to the trade, and cluelessly we could work our way through the process. How shocked I was when I opened the envelope to see whose lesson I would have to go watch and critique and give feedback on. When I opened the envelope and I saw Sheila Jackson's. Sheila was my teacher and an absolute expert in her trade, as you all clearly know. And I was petrified, A, to critique her, and B, that I would be late and have my name written in it. So I got there half an hour early, still wondering why on earth Wendy had done this to me. And I waited to go in, and I sat in the back of the room. And as I sat there, it became glaringly obvious to me why Wendy had done this. She hadn't done it to me. She had afforded me the most wonderful professional learning opportunity. As any teacher will tell you, the best opportunity to grow and to learn as an educator is to sit in another brilliant educator's room and watch how they do what they do. And I sat there and the penny dropped. I realized that I wasn't there to critique Sheila. I was there to learn for myself. And that was a moment where I felt very grateful that Wendy had paid attention once again to the individual and given me an opportunity for growth, even though I was just brand new. Her humility, which has been referenced time and time again here, was always abundantly clear and obvious. I was gifted a book by Stephen Covey called The Leader in Me. And as I read it, I thought, wow, lots of these values line up so closely with the values we hold to be true at Masada. Once again, I was very new and very young, and while I desperately wanted to give this book to Wendy to read, I thought, far be it for me to give recommended reading to the principal. And with some encouragement from her, she kept egging me, you can just give it to her, she'll like it, just give it to her. I wrote on a little pink post-it note, and I put on her book, and I slipped it in a pigeonhole and said, Wendy, if you maybe have time, you think maybe you might perhaps like this book if you want to read it. Now, how many times have you recommended books to your friends and colleagues, and how many times have books been recommended to you? But how many of us stop and actually take the time to read every book that people recommend to you? And as we all know how that story ended, not only did she take the time to read it, but she read it with humility, that there might actually be something worthwhile in this book that this young person is recommending that I read. And The Leader in Me, history speaks for itself. And as I was promoted to a position of management in Masada, I realized that as a young teacher, I thought I knew Wendy Burrell. But what I didn't know was that she had the most brilliant business acumen in the way she managed the school's very many different aspects. Across every area, finance, marketing, teaching and learning, student welfare, and the list goes on and on and on. Her insights, her intelligence, her creativity always took me by surprise. I'm not sure why. Wendy never got stuck in a dilemma. She innovated a solution to get out of the problem. Her creative thinking, while it was something she valued in the classrooms, was something that she role modeled so perfectly. And as life goes full circle, I became a parent, as was referenced with her creativity and ingenuity in pioneering the Torah stream. I was privileged to become a parent in the school. And it was no surprise by that point when I received emails in my inbox with my children's names as the subject. I heard your child make this speech. I saw your child do this act of kindness. And there it was. As a parent, I saw the attention to detail again in each and every student and how she took the time. And what's amazing to think about is the synergy and the effort and the constant attention to detail to her parents, to her students, and to her staff. Wendy gave 100% to all of them. And after we lost Wendy, I realized that I thought, as a student, and as a young teacher, and as a management position, and as a parent, I knew Wendy Burrell. But what I didn't know the extent of was her strong family unit. When I attended her house last week for the end of the Shloshim, this strong and warm family, which she had referenced and spoken about, but you don't quite really understand until you see for yourself, became so clear in front of my eyes. I walked in with my brand new newborn baby, so Wendy's mom whipped out of my arms, just as Wendy would have done the exact same thing. And while she was niggling and crying, she settled so beautifully. Isaac's jokes and smile and warm sense of humor made me feel so welcome. So much so that I needed to feed my baby, and I went and I sat in Wendy's living room by myself with my baby. And I'd sat there before with Wendy, but for the first time, I was there almost alone. And I looked around, and you see family pictures, and you see signs of a person, a human being who lived there. And it became very clear to me that every time my team and I walked into her office with another outrageous idea for Jewish programming, like bringing camels onto campus on Yom Ha'atzmaut, for instance. Every time we walked out, we looked at each other and we said, she didn't say no. She said yes. Why does she keep saying yes? And it became apparent at that moment why she kept saying yes, because this wasn't a job or something that she just did to tick off the list. Judaism was a core and central value to Wendy. It's a core and central value to her family. And for the last time, she taught me a very powerful message. While I've always thought you can't have it all, strong, cohesive family, functional family, and a successful, dynamic, inspiring career, as I sat there on Wendy's couch for the last time, she taught me another lesson, that yes, we can have all those things, and how beautifully she role modeled that for me and for all of us. How blessed I was to start off my career with such a powerful and inspiring role model, and for that I will forever be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cohen. Your endearment to Mrs. Burrell, both as a Masada alumni and a member of the staff, emulates the legacy. I would like to introduce Year 11 student Rivka Masri and Mr. Neville Kay to the podium to perform a Mati Kaspi song, called the Da'aga, a place for themselves.
colleague and friend of Mrs. Brill to speak.
Just the idea of a memorial service for Wendy is quite surreal. Wendy was just under 3 years younger than me, the same age as my younger sister. I met Wendy when she was 39 and I was 42. I'd been in Australia for 2 years and was still finding my way. Australians and South Africans spoke the same language. Well, almost. The weather was the same. Well, almost. But that was where the similarities ended. I'd been in Masada College for 2 years, but it was not King David, and I was very lost. I walked into the staff room of Yeshiva Girls High School, today Keser Torah, in August of 1992, and we clicked instantly. Wendy Barone, Eve Friedman, and I became like the three musketeers. We were all three English teachers, though I taught Hebrew too, and we were inseparable. I went to Wendy's 40th birthday party, and she assured me that the red brick house in Kippara Road was a knockdown, which she and Isaac were on the verge of doing. Remember Isaac? And she laughed when she saw the relief on my face. After a few years, Wendy became headmistress, and I was her confidant and closest friend. And that is how it remained until the unforgettable day last December, when I opened the report from the doctor, and in response to Wendy's question of what it meant, I lied to Wendy. And I said, I do not know. From that moment until today, life has become a fog for me. Forgive me. Wendy and her late father, Sip Owen, and her beautiful mother, Janice Emmanuel Owen, opened a door for me that could have remained permanently closed, as it does for the majority of migrants to Australia. They welcomed me into their home and their hearts. Their history became my history. Their friends became my friends, and their memories became my memories. Sep would tell me about his medical studies at Sydney Uni, about his time in the army, about leaving Janice and the children while he did his fellowship, about his work in the Jewish community in Newcastle. He described how it came about that he encouraged and helped the unforgettable and beloved Dr. Ingram write his Holocaust memoir called Unfinished Symphony. Wendy and Janice would sit quietly and talk in the kitchen on our visits to Newcastle, while I kept Seth company in his workshop, which was in the cellar under their house. What a magical place it was. All his hobbies on display, from framing to painting, to woodwork, to restoration, to his wonderful writing and self-published joke books. This was where Wendy's talent came from, for writing in rhyme. And what an amazing talent she had. Wendy could pop out the most amazing poem in 2 seconds flat and leave me speechless. Wendy and Janice used to joke that Sep had finally captured someone, but they could not know how much my time with Sep Owen meant to me. Wendy and I would sleep in her bedroom in Newcastle and would keep her parents awake into the wee hours of the morning as we chatted like two unstoppable schoolgirls. Sepp and Janice used to say that it took them back to Wendy at school with her friends and their sleepovers. I loved that room, with the candlewick bedspreads, the crocheted animals, and all the little knickknacks of Wendy's growing up. All of Janice's amazing handiwork, which continues until today. I shared with Wendy my stories of growing up in Africa, and she shared with me what it was like to be the young Jewish daughter of a prominent ophthalmic surgeon growing up in Newcastle. She shared with me what it was like to leave home, to come to Sydney to study teaching, which was her lifelong desire. What it was like to be the granddaughter of Cedric Emanuel, the most well-known of all Jewish Australian artists, and what it was like to be the daughter in the Owen dynasty with a long line of doctors. Wendy loved her grandma very much, and her passing was not something that Wendy ever got over. At times, it was difficult for us to separate our private and professional lives, though Wendy always denied this. Me being the rebel that I am, I made it quite difficult for Wendy, which today I regret with all my heart. As I'm talking about my beloved Wendy, I still expect to look up and to see her come bouncing in here, immaculately dressed, with every hair in place and raring to go. God bless you. Wendy, you were the epitome of a lady, which I could never be. But together we climbed unimaginable heights, and we conquered the world of Australian Jewish education. From being the first school in Australia to have a memorial for the children of the Holocaust, to writing an unforgettable script for the Lowy ceremony, to having Gabriel come from Korea to play at the Masada 50th, and all the other firsts in between. Wendy, I will forever miss you. And for me, nothing can ever be the same again. I wonder if in time this fog will lift. Rest in peace, my beloved Wendy. Seth, Grandma, and beloved Aunt Eliana, please look after Wendy for us.
Thank you, Mrs. Jacobson, for your personal tribute. I now ask Danya, Oi, and Yoni Lewin to share their vocal tribute. We now ask Mr. Tay to the lectern.
Thank you very much, Talia and Jared. I think before I invite Isaac to come up and say a few words, I think these two deserve a big round of applause. Isaac Burrell to come to the stage, and he's going to say a few words. He's also put, you'll notice on the program, a tribute which is going to conclude the evening, which is an incredible tribute that he's actually put together on Wendy, so I know you're going to enjoy that. I'm going to ask Isaac to come on. Thanks, Isaac.
I really want to thank everyone here to come tonight. Everything said about Wendy already, but I'm going to give you something from the early years of Wendy, when I met her. I met Wendy back in 1972 by luck. I wasn't meant to be there, and I walked into a party in Pitt Street in the city for 1 minute. And Wendy was sitting with two other girls at a long table, she was between, and I thought they're friends. But Wendy was alone. So I picked her up from the two quickly, I called her over, and she came very desperately. And I bombarded her with questions, and I took her number, phone number. And she told me her name, I couldn't remember exactly. Is it Wendy? I didn't know exactly, never heard the name before. All of them were Sue or similar. Then 2 days later, that was Saturday night, I think on Monday night I rang her, and I'm dialing, no one answering. The phone keep ringing. I said, what do I need all this for? And all of a sudden, a guy answered the phone. He said, hello? I said, hey, is it Wendy there? And he said, Max, he said, wait a minute, wait. I'm waiting. And he said, no one comes. What's going on there? So I better go. And if I would have hung the phone, I wouldn't be here to standing there. But all of a sudden I heard a voice. So hello? I said, you Wendy? I said, yes. I said, remember I met you? Yes. So straight away I said to her, can you tell me where you are? She said, yeah, we are at the college at the university. We got the phone in the corridor. Whoever hears it, answer, call the other one. I start to understand what the location is. And then I asked her if she wanted to go to a movie. She said, okay. I said, on Tuesday, tomorrow. She said, what time? I told her 8 o'clock. She told me there's no movie at 8 o'clock. So okay, I'll come and take you, we go for dinner. So I'll be eating by then. So anyway, so I'm coming. So I came at 8 o'clock and I took her out. Naturally, I studied her a bit and I bombarded her with questions. Apparently she's from Newcastle and she's studying at the college. Originally she wanted to go into medicine. She hated the blood and she changed to be a teacher. And then we went out and sometime she used to ask me, she used to go and buy me cigarettes. And I used to sit in the car and she used to tell me, I know why you're sending me because you want to study me from the back as I walk. But anyway, as the years went up, along, we got married in 1974. And she was 21. Went to teach in Kirawee Heights. She was 21 as a high school teacher, English and history. And then she took my car and she come back and went, lasted for about till the end of the year. I remember the end of 1975. We were going overseas. She was very excited. She kept telling me, 3 months to go till December. And I used to tell her, in no time will be 5 years ago. Anyway, I remember apparently Jenny drove us to the airport, is that correct? And then we went to Hong Kong and she was very excited, young girl naturally. And then we went to Israel, went to Europe and we came back and then she continued teaching. Then she wanted children and then in 1977, her biggest daughter came, a baby girl, who was born in Mother's Day, when he was very happy. And then 2 years later, the next one, Michael was born. And 4 years later, David was born, and he sealed up the envelope. Now in the 80s, when he approached me and she said, you know the Feldmans, you work with them. Ask them if they need a teacher. They open a school, they're literally 2 classes of girls' school. So I went to Mrs. Feldman and I asked Mrs. Feldman, I was a good relation with her actually, and I said, you need a teacher for part-time? She said, oh, who is that? I said, my wife. Oh. She said, oh, I don't think so. I said, okay, I went to Wendy. I said, all right, she doesn't want more about it. We don't need to work. And then Mrs. Feldman, a week after, a month, I think, she rang me up and said, oh, didn't you ask for a job for your wife? I can give her 2 hours a week or 4 hours a week. I said, ask Wendy. Wendy said, all right. And she started at the yeshiva, was a very little place. And then Mrs. Fairman asked me to ask her to work 8 hours a week. Wendy agreed, and then became 4 days a week. Then she wanted her permanently. And as Wendy joined her, everybody naturally, like you would, went crazy for her. And she started to build up the school. And in no time became the head of the school. And put the school on the map. Shiva wasn't recognized. And here the school getting tremendous results. And that went on and on and on. And the parents fell in love with Wendy dramatically. And naturally, Orit was a witness. Staff also were crazy about her. We got one of the best friends, Eve Friedman, they're sitting. She was been friends with Wendy since. And time came when the Masada approached Wendy to come over. And we sat in the lounge room. There was 1999, December. And Wendy asked me, what do you think? I said, well, think about it, but not this year, but next year. And then they came again. And when they decided, they said, what do you think? I said, well, look, you know what Masada is? We need a helicopter. I really meant that, to be honest. And I left it to her. And when she announced that she's coming, she leaving the school, it was outrage among the community there. So when they leaving the yeshiva was not acceptable. And even, by the way, I just went through my system at home, the computer, and I found the tribute note when Wendy leaves yeshiva in December 2000. And you should have seen what Wendy said about Masada. She's moving to Masada. And the tribute given to her, equivalent to that, I must admit. Naturally, she did that better reputation here. And is still in love with her. All the students now, they're older than me. And everywhere we go, we used to meet Wendy with her kids. Wendy. There she is. Now, she joined here back in January 2001. And naturally, she built up a reputation on here, right? But go back earlier. In 1995, she was chosen the best English teacher in New South Wales. In Australia, sorry. She was given a television prize. I remember it was Sunday when it was on the news. She was given a prize. She was, I think in 95. Yes, in 1995, she was given a prize. She was recommended, blah, blah, blah. And here she won it. She didn't just give it, she won it. It was a competition. And then, naturally, as the year went by here, right, she contributed everything she could. And I'll tell you something. I don't believe anyone in the world would make something incredible. She developed a 24 hours work of hours of the day to 40 hours. Right? What she produced here in 17 hours, I believe a lot of people couldn't, most of the people can't produce in 40 hours. Right? She did it constantly. And in a rhythm without any returns. I would say constantly, which I say. And also pay attention to her children in the same category, to her husband, to whatever I need to do at home, questioning or sometimes typing for me constantly things. At the time I couldn't type, today I can. And she did everything, and she stayed very late at night to answer all the parents and every complaint she had to answer, and believe me, it was a lot of emails. She said the swore the one who invented the computer because it was easy to complain to the computers than writing a letter. And as the year went by, Wendy naturally, as all you we heard tonight, I can't add any more to it. Right? Finally, she paid the toll, and to end up the story, I must thank everybody, absolutely, here and overseas and all over Australia. The messages she had received while her illness was going on was endless, by the thousand pouring in. That was beyond even imagination. Martin is a witness. Martin was coming to our place when he was making sure before she'll go, she knew she's going. So the school will remain on the same level. She informed Martin in every direction what things need to be done when you come to emergency or things like that. She was experienced with that. And till the last minute. And I naturally objected her dying. And she told me very clearly. She said, my destiny to die. Don't try to divert it. I couldn't handle this statement of her at all. It was very hurting. I didn't know what to do. I bombarded the doctors with questions. And they always came to close the door on me. I couldn't have any other alternatives. I tried, I read, studied. I couldn't walk out of this avenue which we were put in. Finally, she had, as you all know, to go, but she left tremendous legacy and tremendous memory for everyone who knew her. Outside the school as well. But from Israel, I got hundreds of phone calls. People were devastated, from America, from everywhere. And by that, I must thank all the people here and outside here who aren't here actually, who sent the messages, especially to the people who practically created a fund for Wendy back in December to collect money from her in order to save her. It's unforgivable. She was acknowledged everything. She cried when she saw the fund coming to her and presented by check. She cried. She really cried. She underestimated how much she was popular on me. She really underestimated. Whatever she did, she was natural. My father called her at the time the unique girl. She always volunteers for everything. Even when I was with her in Tahrir when she was 19 years old, I pushed her out of the boat to go and pull the boat from the seaweed. She didn't object. Okay, so as the tribute came, and I thank everybody, we received on Friday an email from one of her students at the school here, who lives in Korea. And he said, I am terribly sorry to hear about Mrs. Burrell. I'm also in shock and pain when I heard about the news. This month, I was thinking about the things that Mrs. Burrell shared with me. She was the best teacher who gave me courage and trust. I still remember when I was suffering because organizing the Korean Day at Masada College. She was the only person who fully trusted and gave me a big courage. Now I deeply realize that it is so thankful to have someone in my life who trusts me sincerely. It gave me a big strength to change impossible things to possible and give a positive influence to people around me. Again, I would like to thank Mrs. Burrell and your family for the tremendous support for my life. this moment especially, the Korean Day at Masada College, the Jewish study, the camp exhibition of my artwork. I can't read this word, I'm sorry. Concert for Masada College Library, the 50th anniversary event, and of course the last Shabbat I spent with Mrs. Barrell in 2016. Now, he traveled, especially to come to this evening. Here is sitting. He's leaving on Tuesday back home. I thank everybody.
Thank you, Isaac, for reading my letter. Okay. My name is Gabriel, for those who don't know me. And I'd like to say a few words for remembering Mrs. Barrell, especially in 2006, organizing the Korean Day at Masada College. It was a big challenge to me, but one day Mrs. Barr came to me and said, I believe you can do this even though you have many difficult things to do. And in the end, thank God, Korean embassy and many other support from Masada College got landed, and the event got really successful. I was very, very touched by Mrs. Barrell and Masada College and the whole Jewish community in Australia. And now I'm back in Seoul, and it is completely opposite. I was impressed and touched, loved by Jewish community, so I organized Korean Day to share my culture to Jewish people. And now it is opposite. I'm working for informing the Jewish education in Korea. So it is my honor to receive Jewish education in Sydney and Jewish community, and back in Korea, I inform Jewish education with my media company in Seoul, and I'm also really good friend with the Israeli embassy in Korea. And whenever I tell them about the story from Masada College, everyone at the embassy got really shocked. And so thankful that Masada College gave me an opportunity to advertise the culture of Israel in Korea. I wanted to say that, as Isaac mentioned from the letter, as I'm getting old, I realize that it is very hard to find someone to believe. And surely I can say that Mrs. Burrell was and still is the person who trusted me 100%, and which was very thankful in my life. And thank you for inviting me to this memorial service. And yes, thank you.
Good evening. Australia Day is always a very special day on the calendar. It reminds us all how fortunate we are to live in this lucky country. But for us school teachers, it has a bit of a negative connotation. It always means the end of our long-awaited summer holiday. These holidays I was particularly torn because I couldn't wait until this day. In fact, I've been waiting 34 years, 2 months and 2 days for this occasion. And yet it meant wishing away my holidays, which is a difficult one. I believe in a greater power, and there's certainly times in life when our beliefs are reinforced. The birth of each of my beautiful children were 3 such occasions. And then, 3.5 years ago, when Michael was wheeled out after a 5-hour operation and whispered, "Hi Mum," that was another special moment. Then, when Michael brought Angelina home to us, a girl who puts values, family and the home first, who, like Michael, is giving to the community and appreciative of all that she has and is given. Once again, I knew we were really blessed. Josh and Adam are extremely excited. It's the first time they've had an auntie. Don't relax, David. There's still a second chance to be a second auntie. The pressure's off, we're just doing one at a time. And Michelle and David are also delighted to have a sister-in-law. Michael and Angelina share much in common. Apart from their love for each other and for us, they love the simple things in life. Nature, the community, their traditions, giving and sharing with their friends. Michael, as you've heard and seen tonight, has collected many loyal friends from his first day at school through Rose Bay. Arto's a testament to that. Cranbrook, Maccabi, Hineni, various schools with which he's associated, university and now in the workforce. Arto and Michael met on their first day at Year K at Rose Bay, we heard that, and he's travelled all the way from Norway with his wife and Nicholas just for this occasion. His friends value him so much that when the reserve surgeon visited Michael's room to check on him post the operation, one of his friends who's here tonight, Natalie, who was visiting at the time, leapt up, nearly bowled the poor doctor over, gave him this huge cuddle and kiss and said, "We love you for saving Michael." I think Michael recovered much more quickly than the doctor. You could think that Michael has a great advantage over Angelina. Michael grew up in Sydney and spent all his time in Sydney. Angelina's been in Australia only for 6 years, 5 of those in Sydney. And yet you cannot go anywhere with Angelina without people racing up and warmly greeting her. I thought I was the only one that noticed this, but when I rang Alex Abalafia, who's a member of the community and really has a very wide circle of friends, he said, quote, "I thought I knew lots of people in the community from my various roles, but I've got nothing on Angelina." And I think that's a real reflection on who Angelina is. We feel very honoured to have Angelina's family here tonight. Of course, I'm sure Michael will talk about Angelina. We're very disappointed that her mother had an accident and was unable to join us, but we're absolutely thrilled that the rest of the family, the 2 cousins, and it was lovely that Janetta spoke so beautifully tonight on their behalf. We feel similarly so blessed to have them come and join us and give Angelina that wonderful presence of a family, because she's got so many friends, but to have the family here is obviously just such a special dimension to the evening. We feel really blessed that we have so many friends and family here, all our best friends and all the family. It's always hard with the wedding, you have to draw the line somewhere. So anyone that's here has a very special place in all of our hearts. Angelina and Michael, it's been lots of fun working with you together with the wedding for the last few months. I suppose we'll find something else to talk about over Friday night dinners now that that's over, but I appreciate you letting me share that excitement with you. We're extremely proud of the wonderful human beings you both are, and are extremely happy and blessed today to see you become man and wife. We wish you a healthy, long and happy life together. May all your problems be little ones, and may those little ones come very soon.
tribute to Wendy. All who are gathered here this evening feel the pain for the family and the loss and the legacy. And looking around here, the shul this evening, and you know that the love that is felt for Wendy is felt for the family as well. May that be a source of strength to you. This past week, Masada College students and staff studied the entire Torah, from Breshit Bara Elokim, from the very beginning until the Einei Kol Yisrael, to the very last words of the Torah. This was done in honor of Mrs. Burrell, a sign of dedication, her love of Jewish education. It was a tribute to her that students sat and learned the entire Torah. It's interesting to note that the very last letter of the Torah is a lamed. The very first letter of the Torah is a bet, forming the word leiv, which means heart and love. The leiv of Wendy was a was her love of Jewish education and the values that it gave. The very central words of the Torah is dorosh dorash. We shall surely expound and educate. These two were her values. The Torah finished with the following words. לא קם נביא עוד בישראל כמו אשר ידעו השם פנים על פנים. כל האותות והמופתים אשר שלחו השם לעשות בארץ מצרים, לפרעה לכל עבדיו ולכל ארצו, לכל היד החזקה ולכל המורא הגדול אשר עשה משה לעיני כל ישראל. Never again did there rise amongst Israel a prophet like Moses, the Lord singled out face to face. For the various signs and portents that the Lord sent him to display in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh, his courtiers, and his whole country. The great might of awesome power that Moses displayed before Israel. The words that always recite at the end is Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Be strong, and let us strengthen. Be strong in the memory. Be strong in what was achieved. V'nit Chazek, and let us strengthen ourselves. For the passing Mrs. Burrell, as a college we say to one another, be strong, and let us strengthen ourselves in the legacy that she has bequeathed to us. Continue to build on that legacy for the future. Conclude with the following text, and then a mourner's Kaddish. Yehi Ratzon, may be the will of Hashem, my God, just as we at the college have completed the study of the Torah, so you may help us to begin other books and to complete them, to learn, to teach, to safeguard and perform, to fulfill all the words of your holy Torah with love. May the merits of all our teachers, the Tanaim, Amarayim, and Torah scholars stand with us and our children, that the Torah should not depart from our mouths and the mouths of our children and our children's children forever. May we be fulfilled with the verse, when you work with the Torah, it will guide you. When you lie down, it will watch over you. When you wake up, it will converse with you. Because of the Torah, your days will increase and the years of life will be added to you. Long days on the right hand and left hands of wealth and honor. Hashem will give might to his people. Hashem will bless his people with peace. Hashem oz lamo yitei. Hashem yivarech et amo v'ashalom. Please stand for Kaddish. This concludes the service for this evening. On behalf of the college, on behalf of the family, I thank you so much for joining us. There will be a marriage taking place upstairs at 8:30. Thank you. Good night.